This for me is exactly what sous vide cooking is all about. You're taking a lesser cut of meat, not one of the most expensive parts, but one of the parts of the animal that's worked really hard, legs, shoulders, things like that. This is a big, bold, no-nonsense dish. It's not about mixing things up in bowls and taking ages cooking things out on the stove. It's about getting it all in the bag together and getting it into the sous vide. It's going to be in there for 14 hours, so it's going to have plenty of time to get to know each other. All those flavours are going to mellow out. We're going to get stock and juices coming out of the pork, and it's going to mix with all those other flavours and start making the basis for our great barbecue sauce later on. So to add some really great flavours to our pork shoulder, I've got some cinnamon sticks. I've got some black peppercorns, some star anise, some tomato ketchup, Coca-Cola, always a winner, and grape molasses. All of those flavors combined are going to give us that sort of spice and that aromatics and all the things that are going to cook down really, really gently while we get all of the flavor going through that pork shoulder. This slow cooked piece of meat is going to be just amazing. It's going to shred down really, really nicely. And if you fold some of that sauce through it, you're going to get a really great pulled pork. We take a big backpack bag and our pork goes in. The rind's been taken off this because the rind will go really chewy and horrible. It's not going to be something that's going to be nice to eat. So ask your butcher to take the rind off. In next goes 1 cinnamon stick, 2 of these lovely star anise. They're going to add so much flavour. In with a few peppercorns. Whole black peppercorns are so much better because you can actually see them and fish them out afterwards. If you have the cracked black pepper in there, it'll turn to mush and it just won't be very nice to eat. Also going in there is our Coca-Cola. Now, it's about a can's worth, so you don't really need to worry too much about measuring that out. Another liquid going in there is grape molasses. Now, if you haven't heard of grape molasses, it's just an unrefined grape sugar that they've concentrated down. You could use golden syrup, you could just use normal sugar. I just think this adds a really, really nice flavour in there. So a good glug of that in there. And finally, some tomato ketchup. Now, tomato ketchup's got that really nice gastric thing happening. It's got the sweet and the sour going on, but it's also got mace, cinnamon, and all sorts of other little bits and bobs in there that'll give it a great balanced flavour. So get that in. We need to get all the air out of the bag now so that we get all of the liquid in close contact with the meat. 82 degrees for 14 hours. Pop her in. And that's just going to be fantastic when it comes out later on. Well, that 14 hours has flown by, and I'm just going to check how this pork's doing now. So, oh, lovely, slow cooked pork. Look at that, all those juices in there. Now you could take those juices, throw a can of tomatoes into them, into a pan and reduce it down and make a really nice glaze for a barbecue sauce with a little bit of smoked paprika, maybe a little bit of chili. But today, I'm just going to lift this piece of meat out of here and we're going to do it almost pulled pork style. And it's just, oh, it smells so, so good. That meat's lost a little bit of the size, and that's because of all the fat that's come out of it, and it's just going to shrink down a little bit. Don't worry too much. Maybe order a little bit more than you actually need, and you can keep it. It'll keep quite well. You could tease it apart, take the strings off, and just pull these little bits of pork out like this. These lovely little nuggets of this slowly braised pork, like that. And that'd be great as it is, or crisped up in a pan, or maybe on the side of the barbecue. But I quite like to slice it through like this, so you get to see that lovely, juicy pork. Now this is absolutely what you want to find on a nice sunny day with a few cold beers and some potato salad and a nice little bit of Mizuno. Now the simplest dressing for this is just a little bit of rapeseed oil, a little bit of salt, some cracked black pepper, and a little bit of lime. And if you roll the lime on the bench first, it'll give you about 5 times more juice than if you just cut it straight away. And it's because you're bruising all the bits inside. Through like so. Good squeeze over. A little toss up to make sure all those leaves are coated. And we have that lovely pork cooked in grape molasses and Coca-Cola. The 14 hours that this piece of pork has spent in the sous vide has transformed it from being one of those tough, underused cuts to being one of my favourite things to eat. That soft, melting pork that has that fantastic flavour from all those spices and the Coca-Cola and the molasses that went in there earlier have just made this one of those dishes that you want to go back to again and again and again. The marinade that was left over, you could reduce down, shred this pork into it and turn it into pulled pork and just spoon it into rolls, and you'd get much more out of it. It'd be one of those dishes that you feed 15 or 20 people with, and this will be a dish that people ask for the recipe for. It's so, so good. I really like the contrast of the lime in there that cuts through a little bit of that sweetness and the fattiness of the pork that's left as well. It makes such a good dish, and it's just in time for summer. It's a cracker. We've got loads more simple and sublime recipes like this one for you to whip up at home with your Burton Sous Vide. So subscribe to our YouTube channel for lots more tips and ideas.